All right, guys, we're going live. I'm just going to see if I can share a screen here. Pop out dashboard, manage. Don't have access to this feature. Edit. I don't know if I can share a screen. Oh, share screen. Oh, here we go. What's up? All right, I'm going live. Live over here. And that one there. Share with everyone. What is up, guys? We're here live on Instagram, and we're actually doing a live video on YouTube. So if you go over to my YouTube on Lawrence Kenyon-Slade, you'll be able to see the live video on YouTube as well. I've got it all linked up, and I'll be able to share my screen with the knowledge. So I'm just going to be setting up the content for today, and we're going to get a few more people that have come through. And essentially today we're just going to be running over some interesting information. So I'm going to talk about just a blueprint on becoming a top 1% agent. For the people that are joining, I've got a link on YouTube. So if you go to my YouTube page, you'll be able to see myself talking, and I might share my screen over here. But essentially with becoming a top 1% agent, there's a few things that we want to really talk about and think about to maximize our sales success. And welcome to adding comments as we go through here. But essentially what I'm going to be talking about is that there is a system to success as a real estate agent. And most people think that or hope that it's just luck and hard work, but there is a system, and it's a repeatable system that you can actually duplicate for success. So I'd like to just take 15-20 minutes and go through some of the lessons that I've learned. I've been in real estate I sold my first home 3 years ago. I've sold 175 in my first 3 years, and it wasn't luck. I had a lot of pain and struggle before I even got there. And there was a lot of learnings, and I originally grew up, I had social anxiety. I didn't like to talk to a lot of people, and I was actually quite afraid of speaking to other real estate agents. So I thought, well, I read Grant Cardone's 10X rule book, and he said, the top people in the world are salespeople because they can lead, they can convince, they can influence people. And this is really a strong desire that I have, is to build team members, build a company, and create influence. So let's jump right into the first key things on why 90% of agents, they plateau. So the first 80% of agents would drop out of real estate, and they don't renew their license in a year's time. And there's a few reasons why they don't do that. Is they don't have any systems, they don't have the right KPIs to track themselves, and they are acting more randomly. They're not dedicated and disciplined in their actions. So there's a few real estate growth engines that we really need to focus on, and these are, you've probably heard them all before. It's the lead generation. So lead generation, next thing is the conversion of our skill, and the next thing is leverage. We want to grow leverage. So lead generation is we can break it down to how many conversions. Oh, here we go. Someone, bro, I need your help. How do I create opportunities in a pipeline? So we're going to talk about that right now, is lead generation. So to summarize lead generation, there's a few ways we can reach out to people. Is we can run paid ads, we can do free content, we can reach out one-on-one to people, we can reach out one-to-many. So this is one-to-many. And essentially what we want to do is we want to have touch points going out to the marketplace. So let's say that we've got, I'm a real estate agent and I'm doing 20 calls per day, every day. So 20 calls every day for 5 days a week, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, it's 100 touch points. Now let's contrast it to my team. My team, we're a team of 5, and we're doing, let's say we're connecting at minimum, we're speaking to 20 to 30, sometimes 40 people every day. So that's take 2, 4, 6, 8. We're doing 100 connects a day. Next thing we've got is letters or flyers. Now, the most important thing with letters or flyers is that once it's delivered, you've got 1,000 touch points. It's impossible to call 1,000 people in one day, but you can send 1,000 flyers in one day, and you don't have to do that. You can pay someone $80 or $100, and they'll deliver 1,000 flyers. Now, those 1,000 flyers, you might not get one phone call, but that's okay, because if you do 10,000, then you might get one phone call. And it's about that consistency of growth. That's really important. So lead generation, there's a few things that we can look at, and I'd like everyone needs to track their lead generation. Every day we need to track how many calls are we doing, because the calls are going to be those hot clients that we need to follow up with. If we're not following up with those hot clients, then we cannot convert them. It's important with sales is that the multiple conversations would convert the sale. It's not just the lucky one-hit wonder. I've had conversations with a person 12, 13, 14 times. Eventually, then they're ready to sell. And it's about that relationship game. So let's first focus on number of touch points is so important in real estate. The more touch points we have with a client before they get to sell, the better. Because the reason is most people, they only remember one or two agents in their head. If they can only remember one or two agents, what does that mean? It means that they've got 1,000 other agents occupy zero brain power in their head, because there's too many. No one can remember 1,000 agents. They can remember one or two, and that's it. And when someone chooses to sell, they're either going to choose number one or number two, or maybe number three is the lucky agent that you saw them on the road and he was the lucky guy that gets there. So with this mindset, where people can only imagine and only think of two or three agents in their head, what does that mean for us as an agent? That means that we need to have more points of communication with that client until they sell. The agent that has more points of communication wins. So what we can do is let's do it to the extreme. Let's say that you called them every single day. They got a fly in their letterbox every single day. They got a letter, they got an email from you every day. They got a text from you every day over the whole year. That's 365 times maybe 5 points, 3, 6, 9, 12. They got 15, 1,500 touch points every year. That person, if they're going to sell their property, you're almost like a family member. You're close to them, family with them. And that's very important. Is that extreme is getting in touch with people 1,000 times in the year. Now, we don't want to get harassment and get the REA and get everyone to sue us, but that's the extreme, is 1,000 touch points in the year. Now, we can do it in a softer way. Now, let's say they get a phone call from you every 3 months, then they get a text message once a week from you, then they get a flyer every week in their letterbox. Now we can see that might be looking at 100 to 200 touch points in the year, and then they see you on social ads. So the more touch points we can get to that one client before they sell, they're going to have a more stronger likelihood to succeed. And I sold a property this week at auction. I've been sending this guy letters for 3 years. He says in the review, he said, Lawrence, the funny thing was, I've been getting your content letters for 3 years. I was going to sign up with another agent. I had the pen ready to sign up with him. And then I thought back, who's been contacting me for 3 years? It's Lawrence. And he canceled the agent's appointment. He said, nope, I'm not going to sign right now. Let's think about it. He gave me a call. I don't know who. I've had his number saved. I don't know how. He gave me a call, came through, and then suddenly he says, Lawrence, you've been doing the work. I've been receiving your content for 3 years. You get the listing. And he gave it to me. I didn't have to pitch for the marketing, didn't have to pitch for the fees. I just walked in there and signed up. And then when we sold it this week, 3 weeks unconditional, sold 780, full fees. He said he told the exact story about that follow-up system. And that's a story about another agent was going to sign up the listing. He got in first. He was selling the next door neighbor. He was ready to sign up. But what happened is that we got the listing and signed up because I had that frequency of communication. And I didn't even know him, but I had those touch points out. So lead generation, what are we going to do to maximize our conversations with those top clients? First, what we're going to do is we're going to have canvassing calls. Now, the canvassing calls, we need to speak to 30 or 40 people a day, and we need to identify 1, 2, or 3 potential sellers in the next few months or even years. And the dialogue is we want to say, do you have any plans to sell in the future at any time? So I never want to be saying, do you want to sell in 3 months? Are you thinking of selling now? Because if you're thinking of selling now, they're only going to want to sell right at this point, or maybe 3 or 6 months. When you say, do you have any plans to sell at any time in the future? Then it basically means that, oh, it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. They might say, oh, yep, I've got some plans to sell in the long term. You say, great, what is the plan? Let's dig a bit deeper. So the only point of these 30 or 40 connects is to identify a person that has a plan. Once we can identify that person, that's when we're going to follow up with them. And our goal is to follow up with them 12 to 15 times on phone call. If they're going to sell that year, we need to follow up at least 12 to 15 times before they sell that year. If it's going to be in a year's time, we need to add them to a text system. So we need to text them every single week with a recent sale that's similar to their property or a recent sale in their suburb. We need to text them our auction results. We need to text them market updates, any vendor reviews. And if we can build a list of 100 or 200 hot potential sellers, even 1,000, let's say you've got 1,000 people that are showing interest that they're going to sell in the future, and we can nurture those 1,000, what's going to happen to those 1,000 people in the next 1 year? Let's say 10% sell. That's 100 sales. Let's say you've been keeping in touch with those 100 people so well, and we can win, let's say 60 of those listings. If you win 60 of those listings, that is going to equal, that's $1.2, $1.3 million commission income, because we are consistently following up and keeping in touch with them. Welcome to all the new people. We've got 10 people live, and if you've got any questions, just shoot it down. I'm just going through lead generations and why 90% of agents fail, and just talking about my systems, my story, and the $1 million system that we follow. So next thing is conversion skill. Now, a lot of agents, they think trying to convert a listing and get a listing is, oh, this is so tough. We need to convince someone to sell. We need to convince them to sell. So they're getting it completely wrong. This is what I messed up. My first 5 months, I did 200 appraisals. I didn't get any listings, over 200 appraisals. And this was really tough. And I almost went broke. I had about $7,000 left of money and almost broke. But those 200 appraisals taught me lessons that I was learning. And those lessons were that we're not here to convince someone to sell. What we want to do is we want to determine if they actually are going to be a potential seller, because 50% of people that are going to list their property online might not even sell their property. So I want to be using that as a filter system to even choose if I want to work with this person. So when we speak to people, our job is to find a person that has strong motivation. The motivation is the key in real estate. If you are not asking the questions to qualify your clients well enough to determine if they're going to be motivated, there's no point in you doing the appraisal, going to meet them, because you haven't even qualified them. So we have text shortcuts on our phone, and the text shortcuts are very basic and easy. You type in a few characters, it'll type out a whole text shortcut of qualifying questions. And the very simple qualifying questions is we want to determine where they're moving to. So where you're moving to, how many bedrooms do you want? What's your renovations, your current property? What's your next plan? Have you looked at other properties? Are you pre-approved? Are you speaking to other agents? Because if they're speaking to other agents, then you know they're getting pretty serious and they're wanting to make a move. So these qualifying questions are important to determine where are they at their life cycle. Are they looking to do something soon in the next 2 months or 3 months? If they're going to sell in 3 months' time, this is a hot lead. This is like steaming hot, because 3 months' time means, oh, you could get listed 2 weeks' time. We run a 1 month campaign, your settlements in 2 months' time, then you're already out the house. So anyone that's selling in 3 months is like a steaming hot lead. So by pre-qualifying the people, we're going to determine if they're actually going to be worth it to meet them, and we're going to determine if it's going to be a quick or a long meeting. So that's really important. Looking at the pre-qualifications, we're asking questions about their situation, where they're moving to, and we're all going to ask another question is, what's the next steps? What if it doesn't work? If you don't get the right price, can you stay there another year or two? And just projecting another vision, or saying if you could stay here for another year or two, someone might say, yes, another 2 years, that's completely fine. So 2 more years of staying at the property, completely fine. Do I really want to list the property like that? Because let's say we're on the market 3 months, then they come to us and we say, look, at the end of the day, no, we'll stay another 2 more years. So I don't want to be listing those properties unless they are realistic with the price. They've got to be ultra realistic. And so it's very, very important to look into that. Leverage and systems. So in our real estate system, we really want to look, where can we create leverage? And there's multiple ways we can create leverage, but what does leverage mean? Leverage means that we are doing more with less time inputted. So if we can do more with less time inputted, we can get more done. And it's all about finding shortcuts. Where's the shortcut? Where's the hack? Shortcut, hack, because if I can do all these tasks within 1 hour and then I've got 7 hours of free time, then I can work on different things. Whereas if I take 7 hours to do all this task and then it should be a 1 hour task, you've just wasted all that time. So there's multiple places where we've created leverage in our business. So one system that we have is people that deliver our flyers and letters, for example. And I've got 4 or 5 people, and they will hand deliver all of our marketing material. Now, they might deliver 3,000 per week to the suburbs, 3,000 pieces of material every single week. And this is just continuous, 3,000 every week, every week, every week. And I don't do anything. I just print it and I just give it to them, and then they go deliver it. And I'm like, great, this is great. I'm getting 3,000 pieces of content. That's like, let's say 2,900 of those people. They're going to take the flyer, they're going to look at it for 1 second, throw it away. That's okay. Maybe 100 people might say, great, I'm going to save it. Maybe one person will say, I'm going to give this a guy a call. 2 people say, I'll call him next week, and then they forget. So they might decide that they want to call you, have an intention to call you, but then they forget. But then if you send them another letter, they think, okay, I did have an intention to call, let me call again. So I've had multiple people call me and they say, yeah, I got your letter and I decided I was going to give you a call. I meant to do it like 2-3 months ago, and now I'm giving you a call now. So what does this mean? It means that people need to see things multiple times before they take action. If you don't see things multiple times, you don't become accustomed to it. It's very tough to get that message through to someone if you're only going to send one letter or one flyer, one marketing material, and you think you're going to get that through. Leverage systems. Another leverage system that we found very good is text shortcuts. So text shortcuts, we type a few text messages, and anything with an iPhone, you can type in text replacement. So I'll type in CA callback, call B, and I'll type that in and I'll press enter, and it'll type out a whole paragraph. It says, hi, hope you're doing well. When you have a moment, could you please give me a call back? And it'll send my number. And that's just a short text shortcut. So every time I do a missed call, I'll just type call B on my text message, press enter, it'll retype out that whole message, and then I'll be able to save all that time. So those text shortcuts are really good to maximize your time and efficiency. Any property that I'm selling, I'll type in the property address, say 22 Winter Road. I'll type 22W, and that I'll enter the text shortcut. It'll type out the whole address, 22 Winter Road, Papatoetoe, for example. Then I can type in 22W, and any type of buyer that I'm working with is I'll just type 22W in their surname, and I'll have that name associated with that property. So I can speak for about 10 hours on systems and leverage it and all of this. So that's very interesting. So we'll go into a bit of if there's any questions that you guys have, shoot a question down in the comments. I will try. No one's shot any recent questions. We've talked about lead generation. We had a question from, who do we have a question from? Garcia 007. How do I create opportunities in pipeline? So we've had that question already. And we're going through a few $1 million systems, and then also going through the story. So talking a bit about my background, and my past story was that I originally from South Africa, grew up in a reasonably good environment. After school, I went to a lot of parties and psytrance festivals, and these festivals were a lot of fun, a lot of substances, a lot of drinking, and I went to parties for about 2.5-3 years. I was going to these massive festivals, and I was like addicted to this music and addicted to all this unhealthy habits. So it was terrible. It was lots of fun, lots of badness, and got into some very dangerous situations. And the good thing is when you get very close to almost losing everything and your mind's almost going to pop and things are actually very, very bad, that can teach you some strong lessons. So I got to a point where I realized that you don't want to throw your life away and go down the wrong pathway. And I decided I need to change my environment, change the people I'm around, and change what I'm aiming towards. And that's very, very important with real estate as well, is because a lot of real estate people, they associate their people they associate themselves with the wrong people. And what that means is that if you are who you surround yourself with. If you surround yourself with a lot of people that are not that good, you're going to start to become like them, because you are essentially the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself with. And if you are going to run a marathon with a lot of people that have a limp, you're going to start to learn how to limp. So that's something to think about. I'm just trying to change my camera around for this YouTube Studio webcam. I don't have access to this feature. Okay. I'll have to figure out how to put another webcam. I've got the wrong camera on here. But anyway, a lot of agents that associate themselves with the wrong people pick up the wrong tips and the wrong hacks, and they pick up the wrong system. So I was associated with the wrong type of party people, party animals, and then I decided I'm going to change. So what I did, I moved to New Zealand from South Africa with the family, and then I finished up my honors degree in property, and I started doing public speaking. And I had social anxiety, and it was terrible. And it was probably one of the toughest things that I had to do, was to go up there in front of a group of 10 people. You stand in here, and now you have to public speak. And that was terrible because my face went all hard, and my heart was trying to break out my chest. And it was one of the most scary situations that I've ever gone through. But then I went back the next week, and the next week, and the next week. So facing your fears, you start to build confidence, and you build strength in your abilities. So by facing those fears was very, very good, because then I could develop myself. And I'm so glad I did that, because I actually started to enjoy public speaking now. It's fun. And I never knew that you could enjoy something that you're so scared about. So you might look at something and you think, oh, I'm so scared of doing this. It's terrible. I just need a... Okay, I've just got a meeting that's going to come up shortly, so I have to listen to a voice note. But yeah, the things that you're scared of, the things that you are scared of, might be the things that are going to create the most growth in your life. And that's something to think about. Is you might be so scared of doing this, doing the cold call, door knocking, putting yourself out there, marketing, sending out 10,000 letters and flyers. It is scary. It's scary to do all that, but you're going to get growth, because the things that you go towards that scare you, and then you accomplish it and you get through it, then you start to realize that it's actually not that bad, because I've achieved it. So we've got another question. Ex System 6165. I heard a lot about your prospecting numbers, like 40 cold call connections a day. How do you structure your follow-up system? Do you aim for a certain number of nurture calls each day? Very good. Good question. So the cold call system, let's say we're trying to do 500 or 1,000 flyers if we're starting up. Let's say we're doing that, and we're doing our text message, we're texting all the warm clients. The cold calls are probably 30 of them will be cold people. It could be 40. And those cold connects is that we're trying to structure it into the first half of the day to build the connections, build the rapport with those people. So the first half of the day, let's do the calls. We've got the energy, speak to a lot of people. That's going to enable us to be able to get through the day by doing those hard things first. So how do we structure our follow-up system? Well, this is a way that what we're going to determine is we want to determine when they're going to sell, because if they're going to sell in 6 months' time, we want to call them every month. If they're going to call in 3 years' time, then it might be called every 3 months. If they're going to sell in the next 3 months' time, then we're going to call them every week. So I categorize every potential seller with a emoji on my phone. So what I have is I've got a money bag, and if they're going to be a hot seller, I'll put 3 money bags by their name. If they're going to be warm, so hot sellers 1 to 3 months, warm is maybe 6 to 12 months, that's 2 money bags, and 12 months plus is 1 money bag, or maybe they're thinking of selling. So all those money bags are potential sellers. And I want to be contacting the hot money bags frequently, once a week, once every 2 weeks. If they got 2 money bags, might be once every 3 or 4 weeks, and then 1 money bag once a month. We're going to be contacting them. So firstly, we've got the cold connecting, and then we've got the warm connecting. So warm connects, we might speak to 5 to 10 of those per day, but then the cold clients will be speaking to, let's say, 30 or 40 of those people today. Why do we say 30 or 40? Why do we say 40? So 40 connects is, if we're going to speak to 40 people, maybe one of those are going to sell in the next 12 months. So I worked out in Auckland, the number of people that are going to sell their property, 1 out of 37 will sell successfully in the next 12 months is the average. So what that means is that if you speak to 37 people, you might speak to 1 person that is a potential seller in the next 12 months. So we only speak to 10 or 20 people that day, you've actually wasted all your time and energy, because we want to speak to at least 37 or 40, because now we at least maybe would have spoken to 1 potential seller that is definitely going to sell. So that is the reason we go for those 40. And what is the goal? What is the objective? We want to be connecting face-to-face with a potential seller. We want to be belly to belly. We want to be ear to ear. And if we're not belly to belly, ear to ear, then you can't convert them, because you only convert the client in the conversation. So we need to convert all the clients in our conversation. And if we're not in conversation with them face to face, it's very tough to convert them. So what is our goal? Our goal is we want to try and book a meeting. We want to book 1 or 2. If we can book in 2 meetings per day, that is the goal. If we can book in 2, that'll be great, because maybe one's going to cancel, one's going to reschedule. At least we're going to try and get 1 meeting in person. And we're going to be looking at we need to look at our numbers. If you look at the whole week, if you're meeting 5 people in person, that means you can maybe sign up 1 listing. That 1 listing, let's say you sign up 1 listing a week for 46 weeks, it's 46 listings. If you sell, let's say if you can sell 30 of those, that's going to be almost $1 million in commission if your average price is $900K. But it's coming down to those 5 in-person meetings that are pre-qualified. You've asked them all the questions, you've pre-qualified them, you've asked them detailed questions about their situation to determine when are they selling, what the update is, where they're moving to, are they pre-approved, and just trying to find out their whole situation. So the number of calls, when I was starting out, I was aiming at 80 dials. So that's 40 connects. That's the number that I was starting at. And I had I just added notes as a spreadsheet on my phone, and it said person's name, call, name, every day. So I had the date, and the number of dials that I did that day. And then I just kept doing that date, dials. And you've got to be consistent, because then you look at the end of the week, you say, oh, I've only done this many dials. Now, the important thing with this is, let's say you look at the whole week, you've done 40 connects per day, but you've only booked in maybe 2 meetings. Then firstly, what I'd say is, okay, let's look at your dialogue. Let's go watch some real estate gym, Tom Panos. Let's look at maybe my $1 million real estate course. Let's see our dialogue's okay. But then the second thing is, let's tone up the dial, because if you're only doing 40 connects and you can't book any meetings, we need to do more volume, because obviously we need more volume, more people we speak to. And in every single phone call that finishes, we've got to think, what could I have done better? How do I improve? Okay, how do I improve your public speaking? You need to go to Toastmasters. So Google online Toastmasters, and there's a club. There's about thousands of clubs in the whole world. Auckland, I think there's 4 or 5. And you Google, you give them a call, you say, when is your next meeting? It's for free. You can go to Toastmasters for free, and they will show you. You can sit there and watch, and then you can sign up if you want. You go every week or second week, and every single meeting is so valuable, because you go to this meeting, people will talk, they do a presentation, then the next guy walks up and he says, all right, I'm going to do a speech on that guy's presentation. And he talks about the benefits, how he can improve his speech, what he did well, what he did bad, and it's all in a positive environment. So now, then the next guy that speaks is speaking on the guy who recommended his speech. So so you do one speech and then everyone's recommending or doing recommendations on that speech, how it could be done better. So now you've got this like massive feedback loop on how to improve. Then you go up and speak, and then you do a presentation, maybe you record it, and then someone walks up the next speech, and then they do a speech unprepared on your speech. Then suddenly you have to do a speech that's unprepared on their speech. So now you're thinking on the spot while they're speaking, you're like, holy shit, now I need to think about what am I going to tell these people. So by doing these unprepared speeches on the spot, you're going to get your public speaking better. So I'd highly recommend everyone go to at least 5 free sessions, sign up for do 6 to 12 months, and this will boost your confidence like crazy. It'll teach you about your eye contact, your smiling, your tonality, your volume, your hand gestures, because this helps your listing presentation. If you are in your listing presentation and you're just talking like this, and the vendor's like, this guy's, how's he going to sell my house? He looks like a robot, then it's terrible. But if a person's like dynamic and they're out there, they're smiling, they've got their eyebrows going, they're smiling, they're shaking their hand, they're energetic, then the person looks at you and you're like, holy shit, this guy at my open home, he's going to be so nice with the buyers, because look at him, he's like energetic and he's happy and he's animated. Because what do people want? They want a little energizer, friendly person, honest. That's who they want to sell their property. Honest, energetic, and they're ready to go. So that's what people really want when they want to sell their home, is they want someone who's going to be energized to get them the best result. Right, we've got another question here. For my calls, or what I've encountered is when I speak to them and they mention to me that they have no interest in selling in the near future, but many instances I find the property on the market in a month. Where could I possibly be going wrong? This is from Garcia 007. All right, Garcia. There's lots of times where, look, I've spoken to people, I've signed up a listing and the vendors signed the listing with me, and then agents were door knocking them, and the agent said, do you want to sell your house? And they were painting their house. They said, no, sorry, we're going to sell, no, maybe in a year's time, not right now. And then I listed their property the next week. So people would lie because they don't want to tell you the truth. They would lie to you because they're afraid that you're going to be going down their throat. They might lie to you because they're already speaking to an agent. And that's just, look, 20%, 30% of listings you're going to lose. Just don't worry about those at all. What we need to focus on is the ones that we can actually get. And if you can ask, do you have any plans to sell in the future? That's one dialogue. The other one is you can say, our office sold that property around the corner. We had 10 buyers missed out, budgets up to 1.2. If we had a buyer at that budget that might buy your property, what would you do? All right, I need to go soon. So to wrap up the question, let me just go 2 minutes. All right, so to wrap up the question, we can use the hot buyer as a lead generation source for these people. So say I've got a hot buyer down the road. He bought this property was sold. We've got another buyer missed out, budget up to 1.2. Should we mention your property or sell them something else? And they might say, yep, sell them something else. That's fine. Then you've given it a shot. If the people are lying to you and you found it multiple times that they've listed in a month, like sometimes you can't help that. You get unlucky a few times. That's all right. We just need to be asking the question, do you have any plans to sell in the future? If I had a buyer at that budget, should I mention your property or sell them something else? Because some people, they want the immediate sale more than they want the marketing campaign. They want all this like massive shooting match. They just want to be sold. So you might say, look, I've got the buyer. Should we get you sold? You could be sold in 1 week. And they say, okay, yep, let's have a catch up. And you say, okay, cool. We're going to give you a market update. We're going to give you an appraisal, have a quick look at your property, talk about the strategy, and then we'll talk about the next steps. So that's what I'd focus on, is sometimes try to use the hook to hook them in, because if we can hook them in with a buyer, sometimes they say, look, I'll just bring the buyer through, we get it sold. Then we can go through the whole process, get some offers. If the offers are not good, then we can work to try and list it on market at a later stage, more of a softer launch approach. All right, very good. Cool, guys. I've got a meeting, so we're live 35 minutes. I need to do another, I'll do another live meeting and try to get our YouTube a bit better on the better webcam. But hope you guys have a good rest of your day. It was good to see you all, guys. And if you have any recommendations or you want any additional comments or additional information, let me know. And would love to share some knowledge. And if you want to work with Limitless Real Estate, get in touch and we can always have a catch up. But have a good day, guys, and we'll see you around.